Okay, this is a video about type anatomy. There's a whole lot of terms in typography, lots of different new names and labels to learn, and typographic anatomy is one of them, and it's basically the terms that describe different parts of letter forms. And some of them have the same names as different body parts, actually, so hence the term anatomy. This screen shows two fonts, Garamond and Helvetica, and the Garamond font has been labeled with some of the anatomical terms that are used to describe the parts of the letter forms, and you can see them clearly there. The Helvetica has not been labeled, but I wanted to put it up here and show you because even though the Helvetica piece is it's the same exact size as the Garamond, it looks a lot larger, doesn't it? And that is because of the way that Helvetica is designed. One of the most important terminologies you will learn in type anatomy is this one here called the X height. It is the distance from the baseline to the mean line, which runs across the top of the body of the lowercase letters. And the X fills that space, as do other lowercase letters, but it is known as the X height. And the X height in the Helvetica typeface is designed to be taller and larger. And that's why the overall size of the typeface looks larger, even though the letters are technically the same size. So that is really helpful to know about the differences between the way the fonts are designed for your use when choosing what fonts to use for a project, both for the look of the piece but also for the really important aspects of readability. And this is something that takes time and practice, but you will soon, over time, you will get to know how to choose your fonts based upon different factors such as these. Now, you won't really need to know every little detail about all of these pieces of type anatomy unless you choose to go into font design, but it's helpful again to know how these aspects make up different typefaces and fonts for your use and as you're choosing them in your design work. Now, this second piece is a website, graphicdesign.spokanefalls.edu, and it has a very good quick overview, not too much information here, but a really good general overview of type anatomy. And it talks about terms that you'll want to know about, such as character, basic typographical elements, uppercase and lowercase. Uppercase is another name for capital letters, and lowercase is lowercase or small letters. Numbers are called numerals or figures. These are terms you might see in design writing, in articles about design, and they're helpful to know about. Also understand that in a font there are things besides letters and numbers. You get punctuation marks, math symbols, other types of reference marks, and all of these have to be designed with the typeface while it's being created. Ligatures, this is a term that you will see occasionally in design, and it's basically special characters that are created as one unit to compensate for awkward letter spacing. And you may or may not need to use them at any point, but they are a term that is well known in typography, and it's one to know, what it is. Here's another example of the type anatomy that we saw just a minute ago. There are more terms here. We see a body, we see a bracket. The serifs are these little feet that come off the ends of the letters, which means that this is a serif typeface, and we'll learn more about serifs and sans serifs in a future video. And here the terms are defined, and that's why this is such a helpful web page, because it tells you what they look like and then what they mean. And things like contrast, you will learn to distinguish a letter form, for instance, that has a lot of contrast between the thicks and the thins is really helpful to know, as opposed to something that isn't so contrasting. Angle of stress, where the thin parts of letter forms fall, really helpful to know and to notice, and you will start to notice these subtle differences the more you look at typefaces. And again, here is X height defining what that is. So this is a really good reference for basic type anatomy, and it's something that we'd like you to be aware of, this general parts of letter forms, again, to help you choose the best possible fonts and type for your projects.